This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions, www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Patricia W. Fisher with Readers Entertainment Radio, and it is already July. I can't even begin to describe how excited I am that we're halfway through 2020 because, man, this has been intense. A lot of stuff going on, obviously, in the world, and so it's always great to find escapism in a really, really good book. And so I'm super excited today to have someone on that I absolutely adore. And I have met her at conferences, and we've talked online and just absolutely love having her. So Reese Ryan is here today. She's the author of 15 published works of romantic fiction and counting. Her stories always feature complex, deliciously flawed characters, which is true. They're always very delicious. She presents her characters of family and career drama, challenging love interests, and life-changing secrets while treating readers to an emotional love story with unexpected twists. She's born and raised in the Midwest and now lives in central North Carolina. She treads the line carefully between being a Northerner and a damned Yankee, despite her insistence on calling soda pop. That's okay here in Texas. Everything's a Coke. So she gauges her progress by the number of Bless Your Hearts as she receives each week, and she's currently down to 2. Reese is an advocate for the romance genre and diversity in fiction, is the past president of her local Romance Writers of America chapter, a panelist at the 2017 Los Angeles Times Festival of Books, and the 2018 Donna Hill Breakout Author Award. You can follow her on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Goodreads, and Pinterest. And she also has a new book out, and she's got more books coming, and so we're going to talk about all that today. So welcome to the show, Reese Ryan. How are you today, my dear?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
Isn't it fun to, have someone read about you, and you're like, wow, I am kind of impressive, you know?
It's so funny, too, because I haven't used that bio in a while because I was like, I broke it down to, a paragraph or, 2 sentences. So
right.
It was kind of funny to hear all of that again.
I know, it's like, wow, I have done a lot of crap.
It's all true, but only thing is I'm up to, I think yesterday was my 20th book release. So,
oh,
yay!
Fabulous. Well, I love it. Yeah, because yesterday you had the 4th Bourbon Brothers book out. And I remember when the first one came out, I was like, oh, my gosh, how fast can she write these? Because this is not fair that I'm sitting here waiting for the rest of them. But, I mean, I'm sure you're thinking you're writing as quickly as you can and trying to get all that in. When you're doing 4 books, do you plot, the thread that has to be pulled through all 4, or does that kind of come organically as you're writing? How do you plot those out?
I really wish I was organized to have planned the arc across the 6 books, but I am not. I hope I grow up one day and I'm able to do that. So
yes.
It wasn't planned that far in advance. When I proposed the series, I knew, the general story for each sibling. One of the
right.
siblings did change. The story for the final book changed, but generally, I knew the general story, but I didn't really realize there was going to be kind of an overarching thing that was going to go through all of them, and that kind of more started with Parker's book, the last one. So,
yeah.
No, but this, in the future, I'd like to do that, but so far, no. It just kind of stems organically from the characters and what happens in each book. So
it's funny because when we all do this when we're trying to pitch more than one book, and you have siblings, which is classic, or best friends, or what have you. And I remember when I pitched one a few years ago to Tule, and they were lovely, and they loved it, but the second book, I was like, okay, let's see, what can we do? What's the thing? And it's there's some big secret. And it was just supposed to be a blurb, and they wrote back, and they're like, so what's the secret? And I'm like, It's really good.
You're going to love it.
I promise. So, I did come up with something, but they were like, oh, my gosh, that's great. But, it's one of those things where you're just trying to get them to look at your stuff. I don't know why I thought I could just slide that by, but that is not how that works.
Not at all. Not
no,
at all.
but I mean, it's fun because I'm sure as you're writing your stories, you're saying, "Oh, yeah, we could do this," you know. What are those kind of moments? Yeah.
That's exactly how it kind of goes, because one of the things, so like, you know, over time of writing, there's different things that I realized are consistently a part of stories I write, you know, and originally it wasn't intentional. It just would happen, you know, like always, there's always going to be family drama. Food is always going to play a role. Music is always going to play a role. You know, there's going to be these basic things of family, forgiveness, and self-identity. And it took me a few books in to realize that those things always happen in my books. So one of the things that I didn't really realize until a reader brought it to my attention was like, they're like, oh, there's always like some secret. I can't wait to see what the secret is in this book. And I'm like, really? So then I realized that every book that I wrote did have some kind of secret that happened at some point in the book, that was revealed at some point in the book. And I'm like, okay, you might as well embrace that as part of your brand. So even with that, a lot of times when I go into the story, I'm not really sure what the secret is going to be.
Right.
The book. It just kind of stems organically from the story. But you know, it's not something that I guarantee that every single book is going to have a secret, but it just generally does happen. And whenever I see it going in that direction, I'm like, okay, this will be really good. Then this is on brand. Let's do that. So.
Do you have those moments like, you know, you're struggling to write this, you're like, forget it, and then you just kind of, I've done that where I just skip, like, okay, just like insert here, and then you skip to something else. And then you're doing something else, like, you know, your shower, driving down the street, and you're like, oh.
Because that's when the greatest ideas always come to you, at the most inconvenient moments. It's when you're in the shower, it's when you're driving, or when you're trying to go to sleep. And then those are when you have your best ideas, always.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons, too, why I started using, I stopped using, you know, notebooks and all the little sticky notes, you know, where you write down your ideas and stuff, and you forget about them, and then you're going through your stuff like 3 years later. You're like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So I stopped doing that. And now I use Evernote to collect all my thoughts. So I love Evernote, too, because it has a system of, like, in addition to the notes itself, it has, like, notebooks, and then you can stack the notebooks. And so I do, like, one for each. I do a stack for each series, and so each book has its own notebook. And then I also have ones for, like, story ideas. So that was a lot easier in those moments. No, I still don't take my phone. I don't take my phone in the shower, and I don't use it while I'm driving. But at least at night, you know, late at night in the dark, I don't have to get up and get a piece of paper and turn on the light or whatever. I can just pick up my phone and type out a few notes or whatever in Evernote to keep that thought. So I do write stories in a non-linear fashion, and I really have embraced that over the last, you know, several books. Because a lot of times I would get to a point at where I would feel kind of stuck. And I'm like, but these other scenes would be popping in my head. So I just started, and a lot of times those scenes start popping in my head while I'm writing another book. So I'm writing another book, I'm supposed to be focused on this book, and then this other story, the scenes keep popping in my head. And so, you know, at first I just tried to stay on the one book, and I'm like, the thoughts wouldn't quiet in my head. So it was easier to just write them down. And so now I do that. Yeah. So a lot of times by the time I come to a book like this, A Reunion of Rivals, by the time I really started in earnest writing that book, I probably had already written 15,000 words in scenes from, you know, just scenes that came to me before I started writing.
Wow. So tell me, you know, you were a big reader growing up, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
So what was the catalyst that made you say, you know what, I think I want to write a book. I think I want to write this story.
So growing up, I was a huge reader, and I'm still friends with girls that I have known since one of them literally I met in preschool, on the first day of preschool.
Okay.
And we're still friends. It's a big group of us. And so we loved reading. We all loved reading. We loved going to the library. Our little local neighborhood library was the store, the size of like a crappy corner store at first. And
right.
we loved it. We would go there. We would take out all the books that they would allow us to take out. So we were huge readers. And I've loved stories since I was very little. I learned to read at a very young age. But it was reading, two books had a big impact on me. One was Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. I just really, really loved that story, and I was, kind of attached to the characters or whatever. And then the light bulb moment for me was reading Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
Okay.
Because, I loved how the story made you, root for the characters, want to slap the characters sometimes. It made you laugh.
Sure.
It made you cry. It made you angry. So I loved that whole emotional ride it took you on, and I was, I want to do that. I want to give other people that same experience. And so that was the moment I really needed. I wanted to be a storyteller and not just a consumer of stories.
Okay.
So, and the thing that it took me a while to realize is that those two heroines, Elizabeth Bennet and, Jo, both still have a big impact on the stories I write now. Or those books have a big impact on the stories I write now. The whole family drama and stuff. That's something that's inherent in every book that I write. And I think that stems from those two books that I love so much, those two stories that I love so much. And it's kind of an unconventional heroine I usually like to create. And that stems from those two as well, I think. So those two books definitely did have a huge impact on me and me becoming a storyteller.
And it's interesting how that same theme, sisters going through their thing, and then Darcy's just kind of internationally known, Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy, just kind of known characters. And it's amazing how just this idea from a woman over 200 years ago said, I think I'll write a story. And I don't think people really grasp the magnitude of the fact that the people who actually sit down and write the stories get them published, however, whether it's traditional or indie. And that feeds somebody's soul for however long it takes them to read that story. And like you're saying, it sits with them for a long time and helps. And, especially a time when we're going through right now, a lot of people are stressing and need that escapism. They need hope, and they need good things, or they need dragons, or whatever they need. And it's a big deal that people sit down and write these stories, and it's helping each other in a lot of ways, I think. What are some of the things that you've been reading that have been helping you right now, or are you just in the thick of writing your stuff and editing?
Right now, I am totally in the thick of writing and editing, so I'm not, I'm not really getting a chance to do a lot of writing right now. A lot of reading right now other than craft stuff, but whenever I can, I do absolutely try to sneak in some reading. So right now I'm reading Talia Hibbard's Get a Life, Chloe Brown.
Yeah.
So I'm reading bits of that whenever I can, between all of this, promo and stuff for the book, and then writing. Because I am I don't even want to tell you how many books I have to do the rest of the year. I don't even want to think about it right now.
Yeah.
Right now I'm in a happy place. So,
right. It's a good thing. This is what I've always wanted.
Yes. So yeah. So I don't. So right now I'm not good to read as much, but earlier this year I got a chance to read a little bit more because, like you said, with everything that's happening right now, especially when we first kind of started on lockdown.
Yeah.
And we were first getting the horrific numbers of deaths here in the U.S., especially in New York. It was really paralyzing for me in terms of I just couldn't think and be creative. I just couldn't. And so even though I had all this stuff, I had all these deadlines and things, I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't manage to be creative and get into that headspace. And so I just focused on, reading a bunch of books. But I would say maybe a month and a half, 2 months in, finally it slowly started to lift. And part of what helped me get back into that headspace is, like you said, I realized how much our books help other people, how much they touch other people, just the way books touch us. You know, how it can sometimes help people get through a really hard time. And it gives them that moment of escape or whatever. So that was something that helped me get back on track and say, okay, just, you know, this is beneficial for other, this, not just myself, this is beneficial for other people as well. And that's one of the main things I want to do as a writer, is to be able to connect with readers, to make people feel like, you know, either to uplift them in some way, whether that's making them feel seen or making them feel like, you know, that one of the other things, and I know I'm jumping back, well, so one of the other things that made Little Women have a real impact on me in terms of wanting to be a writer. So like I said, the light bulb moment was Pride and Prejudice and wanted to do that. But the thing that started the thought, I think, in my head is, in Little Women, I have always been so upset that Jo didn't choose Laurie.
Oh.
So I like the idea of like writing my own story where I can decide the person, you know, who ends up with whom. And so the other thing I like too is about writing is, you know, giving people who maybe in real life I might know someone who is in a similar situation, giving them, who doesn't have their happy ending yet, writing that happy ending for that person. So, you know, all those things factor in for me when I'm writing.
Well, my daughters had not read the book, Little Women. We had read Mother-Daughter Book Club, and that was by Heather Vogel-Frederick, and it was basically for moms that get a book club together, and then they have the daughters, and then the first book they read is Little Women, and it's based in Concord, Massachusetts, or Concord, Massachusetts. I don't know the proper way to say it. And then there's all these similarities between the book and, of course, the girls, what they're going through and everything. And so we had read that, and then they did a tea time for Little Women at Alamo Drafthouse. So you could go, and you had lavender cakes and tea, and it was all this really cool stuff. So there was a group of us who went. We took the girls. But I didn't tell them about what happens with it's Beth, right? Yeah. And so we're in the theater, and my daughter looks at me like, you know, Claire, God, what's her last name? Anyway, she's the one who played Beth in this one. Yeah. And she's like all coffee and not looking good. And my daughter looks at me, she goes, Mom, is she going to die? She was so mad at me. And I'm like, she likes my scream. So sorry.
That is pretty traumatic. So
it was, yeah. And I'm like, it was 150 years ago. It's okay. It's not going to happen today.
Danes, right? It's their names, right?
Right. But you know, you don't want to go in and go, oh, by the way, we're going to have tea and somebody dies. You know, you don't want to go into the theater that way either. She also did that too, and this is my daughter that's got dyslexia, and so reading's really hard for her, and she also has trouble sometimes picking up body cues and stuff. So one year I took her to see, they took them to see Swan Lake. All the girls were in ballet, so we were watching it. We sat through this whole thing, and she's riveted, she's like at the edge of her seat, and of course Odette, you know, throws herself off, you know, because that's what you do apparently in, you know, Russian ballet, and she was looked at me. She goes, Mom, she just died. They stood through 2 hours of this, and she died. And I was just like, you picked up the body cues. It's so cool, you know. It's just, it's one of those things. You know, the storytelling again. It's that escapism, and weirdly so. It worked, but I mean, it's one of those things that story sticks with you and just keeps going. And now you've kind of layered that in because you've started your YouTube channel and you've got the story behind the story.
Yes.
So what made you want to do that?
I love doing that.
You were so good.
Thank you. And it's just fun. And honestly, it kind of just started with me being, all of us as writers, we're readers first, right? So
sure, I
would look at different books and I'm like, I'm interested not only as a reader, as a writer, what's the story behind the story?
Right.
I just decided, and it kind of, like, it was something, honestly, at first I didn't know it was going to take this form, but for at least 2 years I've been saying I wanted to do either a podcast or a vlog. And I just hadn't gotten around to it. And so, and it was something I kept thinking about. It was something I had even floated to other groups of authors because, it felt too big and scary to do it on my own. And so I thought, okay, if I do it with other people, then, it's not going to be so scary. So,
right. And
everybody's like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea, maybe down the road, whatever. So, during this year, and we're in this, descending into this dystopian world. And so I must have had literally maybe like 5 minutes between revising one book and having to write another. And I was like, oh, why don't I start a YouTube channel?
Because I'm not busy enough.
Exactly. I don't have enough things to do. So why don't I start a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And basically, everything so far has just been something that, I look at the story and I have some interest in wanting to know more about it in terms of the story itself or the concept or some of the characters, because I'm big on characters,
right.
in both writing and reading. And so that's kind of how it developed. And so that's how I pick and choose who I'm going to have on the show. It has to be something that's of interest to me as a reader first, because I want it to appeal to readers, and so I want to ask the questions from the position of a reader. The one exception so far is that I plan to have a conversation with a few of the current members of the RWA board, and again, that stems from my own curiosity about where we are with things at this point, and so. Yeah.
And that's I'm looking at your schedule for that, and that's on the 8th of this month. Yeah. And you're interviewing Laquette and Alyssa Day and the Shalov, yes. So you're, and if anybody who's not aware, and I've mentioned it before, Romance Writers of America had basically an implosion last year. And there's a lot of things to be addressed and fixed with systemic racism and marginalizing people who are writing not the quote-unquote norm of, couples and what have you in the writing world. And it's very interesting because, and I've talked to some of my friends about it, it's like, I'm always an ally, but it really distressed me to hear this. And it's not that I didn't think there were not great people. And if I'd seen something obvious, a lot of people say, well, if I'd seen something obvious, I would have said something. It's like, well, it's all the micro things. It's the little things that if you don't know to look for, you don't know is there. And so I have been incredibly grateful for conversations that people are having for this, because my normal is, because I was a nurse and I've done all these things, is to nurture and help and fix and heal. And what I realized is my job right now is to listen. And so I've just been going down threads and just absorbing and reading and having conversations with people and just like, tell me your story, tell me your read, and it's been wonderfully enlightening, and we can all do better. We can all listen and do better. And that's been, I think it's something that had to happen in the sense of RWA. I mean, that you just can't have that go on forever. That's just not right. So I love that people spoke up. I'm glad that someone said something. Here we go.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things. Yeah. Can't put it back in the box.
No, and really, you shouldn't
know them.
Yeah.
And absolutely, and like you said, the micro stuff. Believe me, there's been plenty of overt stuff, but the micro stuff is the stuff that lets people think that they're still a nice, sweet lady and, you know, whatever. But they're not.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and plenty of us have experienced those even at the local chapter level. So I personally had withdrawn from my local chapter and let my local chapter membership lapse after having been on the board for like 5 years, including being the president for 2. And just, you know, I will say absolutely that once I was the president of my chapter, I definitely started to see a lot of those micro things tune up a lot. And I will say this, because I can tend to be, you know, a glass half full person. I try to always be positive, always try to see the good in people. It was easy for me a lot of times to overlook things or to make an excuse in my head, you know. And I will say, as a black person, that is one thing I feel is something that's very difficult, is that you never know when you're experiencing things in the world, whether is that person just a general jerk to everyone, or is it because of color of my skin? You always have that in the back of your head. Is it because of color of my skin, or is it because this person is just a general jerk? Sometimes the question answers itself in you seeing somebody else come up and be treated differently. But sometimes you just don't know. But definitely when I became the president of the chapter, I can say that I definitely started to feel more aggression from some of the people and pushback from some of the folks who, of course, themselves didn't want to step up to take the role. But, you know, so anyway, I would definitely say that kind of, you know, that and some other things just made me be like, ugh. Yeah, so then I kind of pulled back from that. And so, you know, I was more hopeful with, you know, the national chapter, because I'm like, you know, I can just be part of, you know, online chapters and, you know, the national chapter and call it a day, and then just, whew. So much. And just what made it so bad, too, is, you know, that year before, that was my first, when we met, that was my first time ever going to a conference.
Oh, okay.
And that was my first and only conference thus far. And personally, I did have a fantastic top to bottom experience. Let me say that. My experience from top to bottom was great. But it is not that the case for many people. And so, yeah, it was just crazy how everything quickly descended so very quickly.
Yeah. It was like what?
The building's standing there, right there. You know it's kind of funky and it's not perfect, and you know it's got some rust and some stuff happening. But then the next thing you know, you turn your head and you turn back and there's like dust. It's gone.
Yeah. Man, yeah.
Great.
It was just like what?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
We know there's problems, but wow.
Yeah, even having had the experiences that I had, you know, once people, and that's the other thing, a lot of times with stuff like this, you don't want to feel like you're the person that's rocking the boat, and you don't want to feel like you're the troublemaker or whatever. And so, but once people start to share their stories, I was just blown, it was just mind-blowing to hear all of the different stories of people and the microaggressions and their stories that they tried to report that got pushed back, and it was wow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, too, because I think that, I think a lot of people, I think they felt quite empowered to say whatever they wanted. And there's always that feeling of, and I think it's been worse in the last few years, but this idea of now I can say whatever I want because, and it's like, well, you always could, but that never means it's without consequence. So,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
if you want to cut loose and say whatever's been sitting in your brain for however many years, it's on you, whatever. So, you know, there you go.
Yeah, you're right. We're definitely the environment, the environment in this country has definitely shifted over the last few several years, and so you definitely do see people being more blatant in their racism and stuff. Yeah, and of course they call it all kinds of things, nationalism or whatever they want to call it, but it is just the same old ugly bigotry that we've seen for centuries.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So what's great, and I'll just kind of shift.
That fast.
Well, no, but I think it's a good conversation to have, because it is to me. I want people to be able to come on and say, hey, and this is a voice, and here you go. I want people to talk. I want people to say what's on their mind. So I very much appreciate you doing that because it's important.
The conversation will. I'm definitely going even though I want an authentic conversation, I'm going to ask honest questions, and there are things that I know that already that they can't talk about as members of the board or whatever. But But at the same time, I'm going to keep the conversation respectful. So listeners can chime in or whatever, but absolutely we're going to keep the conversation respectful. Whatever we walk away with, whatever my conclusion is walking away from it, we're going to keep it respectful because I respect them, those individual authors as people, and I respect what they're doing. And quite frankly, most of us would like to see this organization survive because we do need the advocacy as romance writers that we can get, through this collective organization. So, But it's been fun doing the podcast. It's been fun chatting with authors who I admire already, like Sarah, Rashawn, and Olivia Dade, and Kennedy Ryan. This has been very cool, and so I'm looking forward to talking to Vanessa Riley this coming Friday on July 1st.
And then you've got, the panel that you're talking about is on the 8th. So that's next week.
Wednesday, the 8th.
Right. And it's at, I have it here at 6. Is that Eastern time?
Yes. So it's right. It is 7 p.m. Eastern. That's correct.
7 p.m. Okay. So for anybody, and I will put a link for that, and I will have it up in the social media post as well. So you've got Vanessa Riley on Friday, and so you have her for 6 o'clock. But you realize that if you go that much later than that, you're going to be on the same time as Hamilton.
So exactly, So here's the thing: it is set for 7 p.m. Eastern, and so we had set that, and I was thinking in my head, I was writing it down in my planner, and I'm like, why does this date stick out in my head? Why is this date sticking out in my head? And then I realized it was Hamilton. I'm like, oh no! But I didn't see a time for Hamilton that it was coming on. But then again, I realized it's on a streaming channel, and usually it's released that day, and then you can see it that day period. So I'm assuming it is because I've not seen a time for Hamilton. So, but I did think that. I was like, yep, we are definitely going to stay, and I always try to stay under an hour anyway.
Right. But if it's on streaming, like you say, people can watch it whenever. So it's been so tempting to watch. It's been so tempting to watch like the bootleg. It's like somebody sneakily recorded in the theater, and it's tempting to watch it, but it's like, but God, they don't get paid for this.
That's right.
And it's that same thing as like people pirate books. It's like I don't want to do that, but I am so excited about it, and it's funny because we got to go see it when it was here in San Antonio, and it again my second child. We got to intermission, and I was like, so what do you think? And she goes, I don't know what's happening, but it's fantastic. Like, okay, well, let's get home after this, and I'll kind of review stuff for you. But there was a part in it where, Hamilton falls from grace from, having a little extracurricular activity going on there. And she looked at me like in the middle of it, she goes, Mom! And I went, no, don't say anything. Just wait. You can talk to me after this is done. She's like, it's dangerous, family. I'm like, I know. So, my little social conscious, like out in the world. She's funny. But it's. I think that so your Friday's full because you've got Vanessa coming on and talking about her latest book, which is historical romance and Hamilton, and then you've also got Candidly Yours is out now, and you did a reading of that on your YouTube channel. And I mean, it's you've got just a ton of stuff going on.
I know. What is wrong with me?
Well, I would think it keeps the sanity. I guess it could be one of two ways. It could keep your sanity in sync, or it could make you more crazy, but in a good way.
It definitely fills my day. That's for sure. So that's actually one of the things I'm working on. Is being more organized with all this stuff. And so some of this came about because a couple of years ago, I kind of was like, okay, and this is terrible. I have not read Shonda Rhimes' book, The Year of Yes, but just the title, I was like, you know what? That's a really great idea.
Yeah.
Because I can tend to be reticent about things or feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not, or whatever. So I was like, okay, this year I'm going to say yes to everything.
Okay.
So, and it started with, I think, a writers group had kept asking me to do a workshop, and doing workshops was on my list of things that I wanted to do in my career as an author. And so she had asked me the year before, and I'm like, oh, no. And so she asked me again, and I was like, okay, this is going to be my year of yes. And so I just started saying every opportunity that came my way, I was saying yes. And so the good thing about that is it really kind of kicked off a period in my career where things just kind of started to blow up, and I started to have all these chances to do all these different fantastic things. Even the reason I ended up going to the RWA conference in the first place, because I had gone from when I first became a writer being like, oh, I want to go to this, to over the years kind of being like, I don't really know if this is for me. And so I was kind of sitting in that place as a black writer saying, I don't think it's really for me. I think my time is better invested at RT or here or whatever. And so I was invited to be on a panel. And my first reaction was to say no. I didn't plan to go anywhere.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, nope, say yes. And so that's how I ended up going in the first place. So,
yeah.
So I'm still been kind of riding that wave of year of yes. But I think I'm at a point where I need to also remember that sometimes you need to say no to things, because it's just like you can't do everything, especially now.
Right.
Because I, in addition to all the deadlines and stuff that I'm juggling with my two publishers and then my indie projects, I also help watch my grandchildren, a day or two a week. Sometimes it's like this week I don't have them at all, which the timing couldn't be more perfect because of the fact that, I have a release week. But normally I have them 1 or 2 days a week. And so, and then the youngest is autistic, and so he has such a big personality, but you cannot take your eyes off this dude for a minute.
He's everything's
he's
interesting.
Such an adventurer. Yeah. Yes, he's such an adventurer. He's fearless. So I'm always chasing after him and being like, what are you doing? Go down! And his older brother is just like the best big brother, because he is like his eyes are on him constantly. So he's always aware of what he's doing at any given time. But I love spending time with the boys and stuff, but it's almost impossible for me to like actually get anything done when they're here, because the youngest, like, he will be playing with his toys and doing his thing or watching his shows or whatever, and everything's cool. But the moment I'm sitting there on the couch and I pick up my laptop and put it on my lap, he is in my face like, hey, move that out the way so I can sit on your lap.
That's right.
Or even with the oldest, he is monster truck obsessed. And so sometimes when the younger, his brother takes a nap, I'll let him watch Monster Trucks or whatever. But he can't just watch Monster Trucks. He's like tapping my leg every 2 seconds, like, 99, did you see that? 99, Bigfoot.
I know. Look at this. I'm like, okay.
So my time is more limited, and like I said, so yes, and then of course, as I'm getting older, my brain needs to focus a little bit more and not do 50 things at one time, and so I probably will start kind of slimming down some of the things I'm doing, but it's been fun, and I enjoy all these different projects and stuff, and doing all this different stuff. So
Yeah.
but we'll see. In 2021, it might slow down a little bit, or it might be a little bit more reduced and refined in terms of what projects and things I'm working on.
So you've got the new book, the Bourbon Brothers book, came out yesterday. Candidly Yours is out now as well. And then you've got a book coming in December, Second Chances on Cypress Lane, and that's the first book of a new series.
Yes.
And so you tell me a little bit about that.
So that is my Holly Grove Island series. So I have already been writing stories set in small towns, but with the Harlequin lines that I've been writing for, Commodity Romance and Harlequin Desire, they're more focused on the wealth and glamour and stuff. So even though it is set in a small town, it's not what most publishers would consider small town romance. So whereas this one is set in a small town, also in North Carolina, but it is in the Outer Banks, because Pleasure Cove was North Carolina, coastal North Carolina, and this one's going to be actually in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So it is traditional small town romance. So I'm super excited about the series. And the first book in the series, Second Chance on Cypress Lane, is about a New York reporter who unwittingly gets herself involved in a scandal. And has to return home to her small island town to regroup, where she runs into the man who broke her heart when she was 17. So we're at the final stages of revising. I'll be getting I'm expecting any day now the final revisions on that. And but I'm excited to bring that series to life, because it's funny, because I developed the idea for this series at least 5 years ago. Okay. So it's just kind of weird that all of this is happening this year, because this has turned into like my year of second chance romance. So I'm gonna. And who doesn't love that? When it's all done, I will have released 4 books this year, and out of the 4 books, 3 of them are second chance romance, and that totally was not planned, but apparently that's the theme of this year, so I'm just going to roll with it.
Well, but you know what, everybody, I mean, second chances are like, we always love those, because it's one of those things of, if I had only known when I was this age. It's that feeling of, if you could go back and talk to your, 13-year-old self, and I always laugh, I'm like, I don't know if I'd listen. Like, here I am.
I think you hit that on the head about why we like second chance romance so much. It does give you that, it does tap into that thing we all have about, I wish I could do this or that differently, but you make a good point. Would I have listened? Probably not.
Yeah. Like, okay, if you do this, I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I'm like, okay. Yeah, because we see it in our own children, and we see it in people now who do the same thing. You try to say, "Hey, look, dude, I wasn't always this 50-year-old woman." I know. I laugh about that. Yeah. So I laugh about that because I think about all the grandparents right now, and I'm thinking, okay, they were in their 20s and the 60s, and said, oh wow, yeah, you may not want to think grandma was all that square. Was born in like grandma may have burned her bra. Just, right. That's absolutely right. So, she may not even worn one. Yeah. We don't know. And there you are. Or not now. Right. Totally optional. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you. You are quite welcome. I enjoy talking to you as always. You are just the sweetest and most wonderful person, and I'm so thankful that we met online and that we had a chance to actually meet in person. That was a treat. We did. It was lovely. I loved it. And so that's one of the sad things about not going to conferences, because go get to hug all these fabulous people I get to see online. So, but it will happen again. It will happen again. So,
and I think
thank
that was
you so
part
much.
of my impetus too of doing the YouTube show, is kind of wanting to feel that space of not having a place where readers and authors connect. You know?
Yeah.
And so I love being
This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions, www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.
From the excitement of nominations to the applause after the opening of an envelope at the big award shows, The Hollywood Reporter is your source for the inside scoop on the moments leading up to and celebrating the wins of your favorite films, actors, and all the people that made them. Follow the race at HollywoodReporter.com for predictions, reviews, and voters. Check out the THR Awards Hub for everything you need for award season coverage. Visit THR.com today and subscribe to our newsletters so you don't miss a beat.
What is going on? It's Shelby Sauce from Intern John and your morning show on Z1043. And football is finally back, and Safeway makes sure Ravens fans have all their game day needs to tailgate or host like a pro. Whether it's in-store, delivery, or drive-up, where an experienced Safeway associate will carefully select your groceries, bag your order, and bring it all right to your car. Don't fumble the snacks. Download the Safeway app today and spend more time enjoying the game by shopping at Safeway, the official supermarket of the Baltimore Ravens.